Imagine watching a spy movie during a war where the movie makers don't know who's going to win the war. No hindsight, no victory speeches, no safety net. Today on Cracking the Code of Spy Movies, we're decoding a spy movie that understood espionage not as adventure, but as survival. It's called Secret Mission from 1942. Hi, this is Dan.
And Tom.
And welcome back to Cracking the Code of Spy Movies, the podcast where we sometimes look past the gun barrels and glamorous myths to understand how spy movies actually work.
Yeah, so today we're going to go back to 1942. This movie predates even when James Bond was being written.
Yeah.
It predates the Cold War spy boom. And it was made while real spies were actively risking their lives across Europe during World War II. And it could also be called a propaganda movie, as most wartime movies were propaganda for one side or the other.
Yeah.
We should also point out that there is a 2019 Korean movie with the same title. That's a totally different movie.
We're not doing that one. All right. Now, in 1942, the outcome of World War II was still terrifyingly uncertain. And right in the middle of that uncertainty, Britain released a spy movie that wasn't fantasy. It was basically instruction. No gadgets, no glamorous villains, no invincible heroes. Just fear, secrecy, and the constant awareness that, boy, one mistake could get everybody killed.
Yeah,
scary.
Absolutely frightening.
Yeah.
Now, Secret Mission stars James Mason, who we always love,
Mm-hmm.
Carla Lehman, Michael Wilding, and Roland Culver. And it represents a version of espionage cinema that almost vanished once the war was over.
Yeah, this is great casting, I have to say. And this is not a spy movie that looks back. This is a spy movie made in the moment, actually in the moment during World War II. And that changes everything. We have episodes on a few other in-the-moment war spy movies, such as the movies Night Train to Munich, British Intelligence, The Adventures of Tartu, and Five Graves to Cairo. But this one has a different feel to it.
Okay, let's give you the high-level story synopsis. In World War II, 3 British spies and a French resistance fighter sneak into occupied France to gather information about the strength and deployment plans of the German forces for a potential planned Allied invasion. Also, we should point out that as of this recording, Secret Mission is available on YouTube, Prime, Tubi, and the Roku channel, and I think even Plex.
Yeah, right. Now, here's the historical context of this movie. Again, 1942, and this is why it matters. You cannot separate Secret Mission from when it was made. World War II, 1942, Britain is under threat. Occupied Europe is a reality. Resistance movements are fragile and secretive and dangerous. This movie wasn't designed to entertain first. It was designed to reinforce belief. And that's why you said, Tom, it's probably a propaganda movie. A lot of these movies were, because they want to reinforce your belief in the intelligence networks that the Allies had, resistance cells, the idea that quiet, unseen work really matters, the spying stuff, and that good will win.
Well, that's if you're on the side of the Allied forces.
Right. Everybody's side is the good.
It's a propaganda piece put out by the British, so we're getting that viewpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a great movie.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it great. It's an okay movie. Now, we do have to remember that British cinema at the time had a mission of its own. And part of that was this propaganda. It was to prepare audiences psychologically for a long war.
Yeah.
So this is not necessarily entertainment for entertainment's sake. It's really to send a message. It's a slap in the face of reality. It's a propaganda movie to boost the spirit of England and other fallen nations during World War II.
Yeah, during World War II, right?
And Secret Mission does that by showing espionage not as a heroic spectacle, but as a dangerous restraint. Spying necessitated by war. It's down and dirty, real, and compelling.
Yeah, that's why I like it, because it's basically a simple story, but in reality, this stuff was really going on. So the writers for this movie were Anatole de Grunwald, wrote the screenplay, Basil Bartlett also helped with the screenplay, and the original story was written by this guy called Sean Terrence Young. Now, on the screen, it says Sean Terrence Young. Now, we've heard of a Terrence Young before. Yes, that Terrence Young, the Dr. No Terrence Young. Before he was directing, he wrote for Suicide Squadron 1941, as well as started directing in 1948 with his debut movie, Corridor of Mirrors. He was born in Shanghai, China, which I didn't realize that before.
I didn't either.
Terrence Young. Terrence Young, yeah. So this is our guy before he had anything to do with Bond, before he was even directing. That's pretty good. All right. The movie follows a British intelligence officer sent behind enemy lines to make contact with resistance operatives and uncover vital information about German troops, fortifications, strength, armored units, and whether they are using reservists. Now, that's the goal. And as they discover, they may have to get into the German headquarters in France to find that out.
Oh, that should be easy.
This is a good premise for the movie, and again, based on stuff that was really going on.
Yeah, now, as is often the case, on paper, this plot sounds simple. I mean, getting into the headquarters isn't, but the basic plot is pretty simple. But in execution, it's anything but simple. Now, Secret Mission understands a core truth about spying. Danger isn't action, it's exposure. And the story then unfolds through careful meetings, and you have to pay really close attention in these meetings.
You do.
There are code phrases and careful contacts, and there's suspicion on all sides, and this was real. World War II was raging. Yeah. Suspicion was everywhere. Every scene carries the tension of who knows what, who may be watching, and who is loyal to whom.
Yeah.
Now, there are no easy alliances in wartime, and this is wartime. And trust is earned slowly, and sometimes not at all.
Yeah, and this is not a fast-paced action movie, so we're obviously, you could tell that already from what we're saying. This is not a date in Fantasyland. This is more grounded in what would have been going on for real during World War II.
Calling this not a fast-paced action movie, you're underselling the slow pace of this movie, Dan.
It's slow.
I mean, it isn't even a slow-paced action movie. It's just a slow-paced spy movie.
It is. That's fine. And you know, they don't all have to be action movies, right? And this is one of them. It certainly isn't. And we have James Mason in this movie. This is the third spy movie with James Mason that we've decoded. We did Five Fingers, made in 1952, The Macintosh Man from 1973, and James Mason is always first-rate and spot on and adds so much to the movies he is in.
And we got more to come on James Mason spy movies. Keep tuning into this channel.
Yeah. James Mason's performance is essential to why this movie works. This is not the James Mason of later, more flamboyant villain roles that he played. He is, in this movie, quiet, observant, slightly detached, yet focused. His character understands something Bond often ignores. Being noticed is a failure.
Well, he kind of is an anti-Bond here.
Yeah.
If being noticed is a failure, for me, he was successful because I didn't notice him much in this movie.
Wow.
He has what to me was a relatively small role compared to other spy movies we've seen him in. But it is an important role, I'll give you that.
It's a critical role. It's a critical role. And he does it so well. Mason plays espionage as internal pressure. This is what he looks like in this movie. And that's why I think it's kind of like low key, because it's this internal pressure he's carrying as a character here, Raoul Ducarneau. In this movie, when Mason is on screen playing this character, Raoul Ducarneau, just look at his face. You can almost feel him thinking. You can feel the calculation behind his eyes. He doesn't dominate scenes, but he's
that's
there.
An understatement.
But he's there and so important and so reflective, and you know what he's thinking. He listens to everybody around him. He reacts thoughtfully to what is happening all around him with all these other characters, and he's consistent and thorough always in his role. So this is closer to how real intelligence officers describe their work, and far removed from the cinematic swagger and all that big screen action that we know comes later in spy movies.
Okay, so you just mentioned James Mason.
Yeah.
So as this movie begins, the orders come in to get 4 spies into France. And we get 4 selected. One, as you just mentioned, Raoul de Carnot. I don't speak French. Raoul de Carnot. Raoul de Carnot.
You
Raoul,
mean Raoul Ducaro?
yeah, Raoul de Carnot. Raoul de Carnot. James Mason. Then we get Hugh Williams plays Peter Garnett. Michael Wilding plays Nobby Clark, who I actually loved
Yeah.
in this movie.
He was one of the stars in this one, I think.
And then Red Gowan is played by Roland Culver. They're brought to the coast of France by boat, and they transfer to a small boat to get ashore secretly. We see that a lot in war movies.
Yeah. Now the sets and special effects in this movie are marginal. I mean, when they're getting off the boat, they get into the transfer craft. It's obviously a set. So you get this kind of thing throughout the movie. So if you're looking for spectacular cinematography and special effects and sets, this is not a good movie for you. But there's minimal effort in this movie for sets and explosions and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
I think Paul Sharif, the art director, didn't have much of a budget to work with on this one.
yeah, or skills or whatever what was available at the time in 1942. Who knows? They probably weren't using a lot of explosives for movies. They were using it in the war.
Well, that's a good
Yikes.
point.
Yeah.
As you said, this is an in-war movie.
Yeah. Now, of course, they had to knock out a German guard near the shore to advance when they got out of their boat on the shore of France. And since Raoul is from France and his family is there, he and Peter Garnett head in that direction towards his family home.
Meanwhile, Nobby and Red Gowan head towards Nobby's family-owned pub and restaurant, where Nobby's wife still lives.
That's great.
Yeah.
Those interactions are fantastic.
They are, and we're gonna let's talk about those a little bit later. Now,
Yeah.
the movie bounces back and forth between these parties doing their things because both halves of this team matter.
Yeah. Now, Captain Peter Garnett, Hugh Williams, and Michel de Carnot, Carla Lehman, highlight something crucial in Secret Mission, the civilian cost of espionage. Captain Peter Garnett is a British intelligence officer, but Carla, a civilian, and the relationship between them, it really highlights how civilians in the war were impacted in big ways. Now, again, Carla here, it turns out, is going to be the sister of Raoul. So that's the family home.
Oh, sure, give away a little twist in a movie that's 80 years old.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this, oops. Yeah, there you go. All right, these are not disposable side characters. They embody and highlight the whole concept here of compromised lives, of moral hesitation and doubt, which we see in lots of movies, but this is real war. This is during the war. And the reality that helping a spy can destroy everything you have. After all, spying it's a nasty business, and in real life, right? And spies do cause collateral damage. And the Germans were ruthless because they wanted to send a message to anybody who was trying to help the Allies. And the message they sent via executing people so that everyone knew what to expect if they did help the Allies.
That could be a powerful message.
That was a tough message, and stuff like that really happened. So, in fact, the movie lingers on moments of doubt. And as a viewer of the movie and understanding what the heck is really going on in World War II, you buy into that instantly. So, the question is, should they help? Is it worth the risk? This is something that in reality is a difficult thing to decide. It assumes you know all the answers, and you never do know all the answers. So what happens if they're wrong?
And when they made this, there was no knowing the answers because we didn't know what happened in the war yet.
Yeah. What if they're wrong? What will the consequences be? So Secret Mission makes it clear that espionage spreads danger outward. So we're talking about Mason's character, Raoul, inwardly putting this pressure on himself. We know now that espionage here really spreads danger outward because it does infiltrate civilians. And we see it today in wars that go on. No one stays untouched in the sphere of the spy world.
Yeah. Now, what Secret Mission gets right, and what many later spy movies forget, is how intelligence actually functions. Because this movie emphasizes compartmentalization. Because as a spy, you have to really put things in little compartments and deal with them and not let them linger on you. There's limited information that you're dealing with. And there's mistrust even among allies. And
Yeah.
we have to remember that almost nobody who's doing this stuff knows the full plan. And really, it's unfolding as our 4 people in France are doing what they're tasked to do. No one's safe enough to relax. Ever. You have to stay on edge. And as you said, there are no elaborate gadgets because gadgets draw attention. Here, the real tools are memory, timing, planning, discreet silence, and importantly, knowing who to trust and when to trust them.
Yeah. Yeah. Guts.
Yeah.
I mean, these people were bold to do what they were doing. And the civilians who helped were bold to do what they were doing in the resistance and everything else. So it is an homage to the real people in the real war who did these things. This is the same philosophy you'll later see echoed in the spy movies like The Third Man, 1945, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, 1965, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, 2011. So, yeah. No.
I totally agree with you there. Okay, Dan, you just gave some shout outs to some movies here that have a similar philosophy in espionage. What do we have for shout outs from our listeners?
All right, we want to give a few shout outs to listeners who gave us feedback on some of our recent episodes. On Mirror Mirror, the villains that reflect James Bond, Pietro Rossi gave us great feedback on that. On Spy vs. Spy, we had great feedback from @Fats and Bull on YouTube and from Jim Phelps as well, who gives us feedback on many episodes. So we really appreciate that. Love hearing from you guys. Keep it coming.
Yeah, keep it coming. Thanks a lot, guys.
Now, Bond didn't invent spy cinema. Obviously, we have spy movies going back to the 1930s, and of course, the silent spy movie Espionage, 1928, which we did an episode on as well. Bond reinvented spy cinema, though, as fantasy. Think about the James Bond movies. They immersed us in a fantasy world of spying, where the story walked the line between real spying and spycraft and adventure or fantasy spycraft. And we loved it. Bond was more of an escape from the real world of spying than real spying.
I like how you're putting him in the past.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. He was entertaining us, though, with espionage humor, if there can be some. And he did. Action, of course, in the Bond movies, and coolness that we had hardly ever seen before in spy movies. Secret Mission shows us one of the original blueprints, though, for how spying works or may work in the real world. So that's pretty cool for this movie.
Yeah, and there are some tense moments in the movie.
Yeah.
And they do depict the concept of espionage in what I believe is a believable and realistic format.
Yeah.
Now, some of the sets and cinematography are well done, especially the German offices, the town, the cafe,
Yeah, right.
De Carnot's home. But as we mentioned earlier, not all of the sets work. Some of them were almost humorous.
Yeah.
And not intending to be.
All right. Now, I want to point out one very good feature in this movie at the Carnot home. By the staircase, and also in the Nabi Cafe on the back wall, past the door, are German propaganda posters. The Germans did this all the time to show how nice it is they have the Germans there. That was their concept.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're good for you.
Convince the civilians, that, hey, you're better off with us here. No, this particular poster that we see in these two places in the movie shows a German soldier holding a child with his arm around 2 others. Wow, how nice. Well, this poster was a real German propaganda poster used in Vichy, France in 1940. And we'll have a picture of that in our episode notes on our website. The words on it are Populations abandonnées, faites confiance aux soldats allemands.
Yeah, what you said.
Which means unprotected civilians have faith in the German soldier. Oh my God.
Well, it's interesting to me in that picture. The one kid is eating something and smiling, and the other 2 are looking up. And I don't know if it's like, we want what you're eating, or
Yeah.
They almost look a little worried, which to me, for a propaganda poster, is kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I think they're showing, oh, he's going to calm them down. He's the German. It's good to have us here. So, I mean, a shout out to the props and the set designer for including this authentic poster in the movie. It's an exact poster that was actually used. Wow. I
Well,
was like, this is
you
cool.
you were in the moment. Probably easy to get that poster.
Yeah. All right.
Now, we've talked about the fact that there are not a lot of gadgets in this movie, but
No.
there is one gadget type thing, I guess I'll call it, in the movie. At one point, one of the four spies assembles a camera to take some pictures. So there you go. There's your gadget.
Yeah, it was. So I thought that was kind of cool that they did that. And they used like a cigarette lighter, I think, and something else. It's like, hey, this is like the man with the golden gun, you know? That's pretty good. Now, there's some amusing dialogue in this movie. I like how Raoul Ducarneau gets digs in about English cooking. Remember, he is French, and at least twice he does this. And one time, eating at his home in France, he says,
It was delicious. Nobody in England can cook like that.
Yes. There's actually a bunch of points where there's this little drop in humors about the different cultures.
right,
And
right, right.
at one point, Violette, to celebrate Raoul being home for a short while, she pulls out a dusty bottle of Calvados.
Calvados. Didn't we have that in Normandy, Tom?
Yeah,
We did.
I as much as I can remember that night, we did.
We did. We did.
I think we might have had a little bit more than we should have.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually produced in the Normandy region, and sometimes it's apple, sometimes it's pear brandies, but they're brandies, and it's absolutely delicious. I remember we went to
It
a little
really
cafe
is.
and we had it
Yeah.
in the little town in Normandy, and it's expensive sometimes, but it was delicious. It was great. So she pulls that bottle out here.
All right, now here in Secret Mission, we see Calvados, and it does help set the action in France, and that works well. And sometimes you can do that where it's like, oh, I'm going to take a local product, make that be here. Anybody that knows that product says, oh, yeah, we're here.
Yeah.
And when we were in Normandy, Dan, if you remember, we didn't just learn about Calvados. We did learn a lot about the French resistance.
Yes.
And we get to see that in action in Secret Mission here. It's a really important part of how the war was handled.
Yep.
And the French resistance really helped out the Allies.
Absolutely. In Normandy, they said without the French resistance, it would have been much more hell on the beaches in Normandy. It was hell already, but the French resistance really helped. So, all right, yeah, we're in 1942 here. So, long before D-Day and the invasion at Normandy, who's planning...
Well, these people didn't even know about D-Day.
No, but the planning for D-Day didn't begin until 1943. This movie's from 1942. And they're talking, though, kind of like talking around a potential Allied invasion, which is weird. So here's an unknowing hint in the movie, even though we know they were gathering intelligence in this movie, probably about this potential invasion, but it's before the planning for the Normandy invasion even began. So it's kind of a nice touch point in the movie if you notice it and know the history of Calvados, which helps us pinpoint this Normandy concept. And Nobby, whose wife still runs the cafe in France, really, he's no longer, I would say, he's no longer enamored with his wife.
You think?
He at one point says,
Oh, we're never going to St. Antoine. But that's where my old woman lives.
Yes, I know. Well, don't you want to see her again?
No, thank you very much, sir. You see, it's one of the joys of this here war that I can't see her again.
That's quite a statement.
yeah, that's kind of rough. But while he and Gowan are at the Nobby home, she seductively calls him to the bedroom. And he turns to Gowan and he says, this is, again, some of the good lines in this movie.
I'm doing it for my king and country, sir.
Just like Bond told Fiona Volpe in Thunderball.
Yeah, right.
What I did this evening was for king and country. You don't think it gave me any pleasure, do you?
All right. Now, another time, Nobby and his wife are talking, and she says, I love it. This is one of my favorite lines of the movie. She says,
Nobby, don't you pull my legs.
and he says,
You're quite safe, my dear.
I think he was a highlight in this movie.
Yeah.
That guy was terrific.
The interaction between these two was what made this movie kind of work for me. The absolute best parts of the movie. Michael Wilding, who played Nobby, and Betty Warren, who played his wife. I don't remember if we ever heard her name. It's just Mrs. Clark, I think. But the interaction between these two were spectacular, and the script they had it was just the best part of the movie for me.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. I wouldn't call that romance, but they do work in a little romance in the movie between Peter and Michelle. We see a little bit of that. rocky romance, and well, that's all we're going to say about that. But again, I think the acting. What do you think?
I thought Nabi was great. I thought his wife was great. And Carla Lehman as Michelle Decarno was also stunning and outstanding in her performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the woman who played Violette made Violette a very real character. And so overall, I don't think there were flaws in the casting here.
No, that was Nancy Price who played Violette. I thought she was fantastic. I thought she was great. Yeah, the casting I thought was solid. Now, cinematography and music, yeah, they were okay. It's the real story that is interesting. The other stuff is tangential.
Yeah, I mean, there are many points in this movie where you're gonna say, "What?" I mean, why don't the Germans see them there?
Yeah,
There's a bunch of those things, and some of these sets, I'm not even sure they looked like sets.
They're aspiring to be sets.
Yes.
All right, but anyway, the movie is solid. The acting is solid. The casting is solid. And what Secret Mission really is saying is beneath the plot, Secret Mission is making a quiet kind of argument that heroism, and again, this is during the war, heroism is invisible. What spies do for country and cause, for the most part, remains hidden from the public. They are, after all, on secret missions.
Well, yeah, and I think their success then looks like nothing happened because we don't get the car chases, we don't get the explosions. Here, it's much more subtle and clandestine. It's more like the TV series Mission Impossible was, where it was our best thing is you never knew we were here.
Yeah, right. There you go. So, and I think survival, again, it's not guaranteed. It used to be for Bond. It used to be on set. We grew to expect that he will survive the turmoil and many dangers of his missions. Well, till, But for Secret Mission, there's no grand victory, no large explosions destroying both the enemy and their plans. No, that's not there. It's a quiet, unheralded, uncelebrated victory. We might find out about the victory decades later. That's the kind of spying that was going on here.
And there's also not often even closure. Success may be temporary, not final. Only a small group of people know anything happened or didn't happen, whichever you were setting up. And the war is continuing to go on, so who knows where it's going to lead.
Yeah, and we always have the struggle. Any spy movie you can watch, you have the same struggle between the concept of what espionage creates. It creates this ethical burden, a struggle between what is right and what is wrong. And the steps are painful in a lot of ways because, again, like we always say, it depends on whose side you're on. All the sides think they're the good. The Germans thought they were on the good side here. The Allies thought they were on the good side here. So all of this is an ethical burden. So you don't get credit. You don't get applause. You just kind of move on if you're lucky to move on after you've done this secretive espionage stuff. That's a radical idea for cinema, especially wartime cinema. And Secret Mission, I think, does it well.
Okay, now, Dan, we've talked a couple times about it's not like when Bond does this or whatever. So let's kind of do a little bit more of a explicit comparison between this movie and something you might see in a Bond movie.
All right, yeah, we could do that.
So Bond is designed to attract attention. Everyone knows who Bond is, right?
Yeah.
He does big things. Cars, boats, trains, helicopter chases. Big shootouts, fights, destruction, and landmark explosions.
Yeah.
Bond is designed to project dominance. The good side will win because they're better prepared. They have better agents. They can outwit any opponent.
Yeah. Well, that's how the movies were, yeah.
And then, unlike in this movie, Bond is designed to leave a mark. We know the villain is defeated or at least killed, or a particular mission of theirs is thwarted.
Yeah.
And that's the end mark of the Bond movies. The checkmate, if you will. There is an end.
Yeah. Now, James Mason's character in this movie, Raoul Ducarneau, is designed to be the exact opposite. Like we said, he's an anti-Bond. He disappears. He avoids notice. He leaves no trace. And Bond is the myth of espionage. And Secret Mission is the reality beneath espionage. That's why I like to look at this. And movies like Secret Mission bring out that concept that this is the reality beneath espionage. And I think they do a good job. Again, this is an action. This is more of a thinking movie, but it's, I think, a good one. And here's why movies like Secret Mission are important to the spy movie genre.
I think James Bond could only exist because movies like Secret Mission laid the groundwork. The spy movies that came before James Bond seasoned a cinema audience to understand and enjoy the genre of espionage movies and spy movies.
Yeah.
Then studios and producers created more out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some of the movies that are in the same ilk here that we've done episodes on are the 39 Steps, 1935, Secret Agent, 1936, Q Planes, 1939, Sabotage, 1936, The Lady Vanishes, 1938, The Adventures of Tartu, 1943, Notorious, 1946, and we've done a lot more. And once audiences understood espionage through these movies and Secret Mission, then they were ready to see it exaggerated, bigger, bolder, more action-oriented. These movies set the stage for it.
And is that why Secret Mission kind of faded into oblivion? And more importantly, why does it matter now? Because it wasn't the big spectacle.
No, it was not.
In fact, it refuses to be a spectacle. It demands patience. It's a story in sequence with story building blocks to pay attention to. You're paying attention to the building blocks, not spectacle.
Yeah.
And Dan, I'm not sure I have the patience for this one. I know you like this one a lot more than I do, but for me, it was too slow. And with these sets, part of this just didn't work for me, but I know you have a different thought on why it shouldn't fade into oblivion.
Because it rewards attention. You have to pay attention. When you pay close attention to this plot line, the acting, the story unfolding in front of you, you're rewarded with a very fine spy movie experience. Now, it doesn't flatter the audience. I have to say that. You're watching a tense time in history where stories like this really took place, where spies and resistance fighters actually worked behind enemy lines, risking everything, every day, every minute. But today, in an era where spy movies are circling back towards realism in new releases, since No Time to Die, this movie feels, I think, newly relevant. It reminds us that espionage isn't about power, it's about restraint. And Secret Mission, I thought, is a great view of this.
Okay, so let's give our thoughts about the movie in general as we wrap this up. And I'll start. Right, to be frank, I thought it was boring. And you know, I like espionage-focused as opposed to action-focused movie. I mean, I loved Black Bag, but I thought it was boring. The set was almost comically bad at points.
It was bad.
And I didn't think it told what could have been a good storyline very well. It highlights an important time in the way espionage worked during the war, which is good, but I didn't think they did it in a compelling way. And it only has a 5.5 rating on IMDb, and I think that's probably a fair number for it. I will agree with you that the acting is good, but for me, it was a forgettable movie. I'm not sure I really would recommend it. I understand why you say we should, but Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a movie in time. And I think, it's about, what is it, an hour and a half movie? It's not a long movie.
It felt longer than that to me.
Should you watch it? It's a slow-paced movie. There's no question about it. But I think once you pay attention to the story, and I disagree that I think the story told was done well. I think they did tell the story pretty well. And I think it shows you a snapshot of time of what was really happening. And again, this wasn't made for entertainment. It was a propaganda movie made to boost up your morale because, hey, this is going to be a long war and we have no idea who's going to win this war. So I think this movie fits a role and fits into that spot.
I'll give you that it fits into that spot.
All right, this is before the tuxedos, before the gadgets, before the myth of the super spy. This is Secret Mission. So that's why I think it's okay. It was a spy movie made when secrecy was real, fear was constant, and the ending wasn't written yet, really. And sometimes the most honest spy stories are the ones that don't want to entertain you at all. And
It barely did.
You would like, okay, this is perfect for that.
Exactly.
But I think it did entertain you in a different way because now looking back at it and watching it now, you're watching this during the war. This is not entertainment. It's fear. It's like, oh man, I hope we do win. I hope we are doing stuff like this. But now you're looking back thinking, okay, it has a place in cinematic history in spy movies. All right, that's a wrap. This has been Dan
And Tom.
at Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. If you like our show, subscribe to it now. You can really help us keep going by subscribing. Thanks for listening and spending your time with us. We appreciate it.